Hi, I'm Sharon Henby Roby, and this is Safe Space with Sharon. This is a place I hope that you'll enjoy coming to on a regular basis and interacting with me. That's really my goal. I want you to be able to come here with ideas that you want to talk about, questions you may have about just, life as we grow. I think about friends, for example, and our friendship started at a really early age. Uh, Obviously, in the very beginning, it's family that's most important in terms of friends. Siblings, without a doubt. Cousins, I grew up in the era where cousins were like our siblings. We all hung out together. I came from a big family, and it was wonderful because we had this large extended family. So there was always someone to play with and someone to be friends with and someone to, just do things together with. And I think there isn't so much of that anymore, and it's sad. And I hope as the country's changing and the world is changing, we get back to some of that. So some of my best friendships obviously started when I was very young. And one of them, Chrissy, we and I met when we were about 4 years old. We lived behind each other, and there was a fence, a chain link fence, and that's how we first met. And here it is now, 70 years later, and we're still friends. And our lives went in completely different directions. And yet there is this bond, a love, that we continue to support one another, take care of one another. And even though we go very long lengths of time without necessarily speaking or seeing each other, it doesn't matter. That's an amazing friendship. So it's important to think as you go through life to not take good friends for granted. But I will tell you, you will have friends for seasons. Some won't last, like Chrissy and I. Now, my sister Wendy and I were 10 years apart. She's 10 years younger. We're the best of friends. We can tell each other anything. And although she lives in a different state, I know she's just a phone call away. She's always with me in my heart. And that's a lifetime friendship, not just siblings, but we really have a true friendship. I met another friend when I was 24, Judy. And oh my gosh, that friendship was so dear. We went through life together. We both had breast cancer. We were single, then we married, and we just kept friends. And when she moved away to Massachusetts, we maintained that relationship long distance. Sadly, Judy passed away about 7 years ago from metastatic breast cancer. And losing her was one of the hardest things I ever went through. It still hurts. I remember the last trip we took together, and we pretty much knew that would be the last time she would travel, and it was. So I just want you to think about, no matter what age you are, especially if you're in your 20s and 30s, to really look for good friendships, ones that are healthy. I'm a caretaker type person, and I have in the past fallen into situations where I've been in relationships that weren't necessarily the healthiest for me. One that I recognized, fortunately, when I was going through a divorce after 18 years of marriage, I met another gal at church, and she too was going through a divorce. And so we became really good friends to really help each other during that time. It was really important. But what I realized after a couple of years is she didn't want to get better. She liked staying in that victim mode. And you can't live the rest of your life that way and be happy. So I had to, after a couple of years, set up a boundary between us and let her down gently. But I just couldn't continue to live in that friendship. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy for her either, because I was at a point of frustration. I was tired of hearing about the same things. And it wasn't good for me because I didn't want to stay on that old path of victimhood. But there have been other friends throughout life, and what I want you to recognize is that it's really important to choose friends wisely and to make sure that they are the kind of friends that you can share life with. I think, like with Judy and I and other friends, that when we each got married, things got a little more complicated. Although we knew each other's husbands before, it's different once you're married. The allegiances have to go from us being the main people in the relationship to our marriage partners being the main people in the relationships. So that automatically changed our relationship. We had less time for each other, but that didn't mean we didn't still support one another. And so as you go through life, especially marriage and having children, it's really important that you have friends that you can do life with together. I've known so many people, I don't have children of my own, but I've known so many people that have developed amazing relationships with friends who have children the same age. And they've done that whole childhood and raising the kids together. And sometimes those relationships can continue after the children are out of the house. But a lot of times those change too. So it's important to realize that we need friends for different stages of our life, but we also want long-term friends for life, like Chrissy and I, and my sister and I. And then, find friends that have the same passions you have, whether it's traveling, exercising, reading, writing. I belong to a writing group. It's all about having friendships that help you to grow, challenge you, just like everything in life should. Challenges are so good for all of us because challenges force us to grow into new opportunities. And so it's that kind of daredevil challenge, whether it's for your career, your children, the creative aspects of your life, the work aspects of your life, and just the relaxing aspects of your life. I have a friend that we've traveled a lot together. Her children were all grown, and since I didn't have any, and neither one of our husbands loved to travel, we've done a lot of traveling together. And that's a unique friendship. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to talk about everything in life, but we certainly have talked about a lot of things in life. We've shared a house at the beach together many, many times, and bringing children and grandchildren and whomever to the adventure at the beach. And those young people have established relationships with each other. And although they may not be the best of friends now, they still care about one another and keep up with one another on social media and love to hear what's happening in their lives. So I want you to think about, first of all, what are your patterns in life? Because a lot of us may come from families, especially depending on where you fall in that sibling count. I'm the eldest of 6, which made me the one that wants to get it done, do everything, make sure it's happening. And that's a good thing, But in marriage, it can kind of be a challenging thing. I could be considered bossy. Yeah, I am. And so I have to taper that. And so I want you to really think about who you are and what are the kind of relationships you've had, and be able to diagnose those that have not been healthy for you, and learn to relieve yourself of those relationships, and then search out the kind of people that would help you be better and help you learn from your past mistakes. We all make them. You know, we've all found ourselves in situations where you thought, how did I get here? But if you can be aware of your own personality and what your needs are and what your gifts are for giving, for giving to the other person in the relationship, one of the most important things when it comes to relationships is just listening. It's so important to be able to be silent and not try the one-upsmanship, especially when someone is going through a hard time, whether it's a health challenge, a work challenge, whatever it is. I know for me, it's easy to say, oh, I know exactly how you feel. I went through. Stop, Sharon. This is their story, not mine. And I've had to really learn to do that, to stop myself and learn to just listen and wait for the cues for them to ask questions, ask for help. And then eventually the stories can be shared. But it really is about hearing them and being that friend that can be counted on when things are hard, when things are tough, whether it's a health challenge, financial challenges, problems with children, careers. I know I get asked a lot about careers at this stage of my life because I've been so fortunate to have done so many things. I'm an interior designer now for 50 years. I'm a writer, published 17 books, and I've been in television for 24 years. And through that time, I've learned a lot, and a lot of how things can cross over. And so I'm often asked about careers. And the one thing I will tell you when it comes to challenging friends is help them be the daredevil to try something new and not get stuck in a path that limits their growth or limits their financial security. The whole point of friendship is to help us get better, to grow and be better people. So I hope you'll think about that, and I hope you can find friends that will last a lifetime, and that you'll have the best friends at the times you need them most. If you want to talk more about this and anything else, subscribe to Safe Space with Sharon, and I'll talk with you next time. Have a blessed day.